In the shadow of COVID-19, cases and hospitalizations are tragically rising again, and how you celebrate the holiday will certainly depend on who's in charge of your city or state. Starting this week in New York City, anyone, including children ages 5 and above, will not be able to eat in a restaurant or go to a movie theater without being able to prove that they've had at least one shot for a kid, and the full regimen if you're over 12. By the end of December, Mayor Bill de Blasio is requiring that all private sector employees will need to be vaccinated. It would be the most sweeping COVID requirements in the United States. Meanwhile, 11 states, including Arkansas, are suing to prevent the Biden administration from requiring businesses with more than 100 employees to mandate vaccines or weekly testing. And a 52-vote Senate majority, including Democrats John Tester and Joe Manchin, voted to overturn President Biden's vaccine mandate for businesses, although it's unlikely the House will agree. We're going to try something new on State of the Union today, here to debate whether vaccine mandates are the best way to end this pandemic. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. First of all, we should both note that you both agree that the vaccines are safe and effective. You've both gotten them. You've repeatedly urged Americans to go get vaccinated. Where you disagree on whether or not the government should mandate them. So let's start this debate by me asking you, Governor Hutchinson, and then you two can just engage each other. New York City has sweeping mandates for workers and businesses, and it might sound too sweeping for some people, but 71% of residents of New York City are fully vaccinated. Arkansas has no mandates, and only 50% of your residents are fully vaccinated. Does that not show, Governor Hutchinson, the vaccine mandates work?
Well, I don't believe it does. First of all, put it in historical perspective that never in the history of our country has government mandated the private sector to require vaccinations. It's generally been left up to the states and localities, but it has been looked at as an education effort in our school systems. To put this into the businesses does a number of things. One, it hardens resistance. That's what we see in Arkansas, but I think across the country. Secondly, the courts have struck it down. By and large, the president's mandate, these mandates are unconstitutional overreaches, and the courts are looking at it in that fashion. It's a little bit closer case when it comes to a city because that's the government closest to the people. But if you're looking at a million employees and you get a 90% vaccination rate, you still have 10%, which is 100,000 workers. And whenever the businesses are struggling with workers, our service providers, they're providing for their family, you don't need to add 100,000 to the unemployed list, and that would hurt us in trying to do our recovery, provide the services we need, already struggling, even in the healthcare industry. If you put that mandate in, you're going to lose some healthcare workers as well. So that's the reasons, part of the reasons that we oppose those mandates.
Mayor de Blasio?
Yeah, Governor, look, I want to speak to this, but first I want to just say my heart goes out to the people of Arkansas. I appreciate your leadership as you're dealing with this crisis, and I want you to know the people in New York City are praying for the people of Arkansas right now, that things recover quickly.
Thank you.
To the question here, Governor, look, right now, here's what I fear. Omicron is here. It's all over the country. This variant moves fast. We have to move faster. And I'll tell you what I hear from our business community, that their greatest fear is shutdowns. Their greatest fear is going back to where we were in 2020, to restrictions, to people losing their livelihood. You mentioned unemployment. The greatest threat to employment right now is that the Omicron variant and the cold winter months are going to supercharge COVID and take us backwards. So I'm going to argue to you that mandates work, and it's time. Since I put mandates in place in New York City starting in August, we've seen over 1 million more doses, 71% of our people fully vaccinated. A lot of those people made the decision because the mandate was there, and it was the thing that moved them. And it's keeping people alive. So I do agree with you. We have to take all the factors into account, but we've proven that mandates work. And now we're up against a new enemy with this new variant. We've got to have a strategy to fight back.
Governor?
Well, Mayor, I know that New York has challenges because of its density of population that perhaps other places do not have. And also the success of New York is important for my country. I've got a granddaughter that's going to school in New York City. But whenever you look at the vaccinations, we are in agreement. Let's increase those vaccination rates. But how do you get there? And to me, we're right now dividing our country on this issue of mandates. But on the issue of vaccination, by and large, Republicans, Democrats, everybody are together on that. And education works. And we increase that. Here in Arkansas, I had town meetings all across the state, bringing education efforts, encouraging that. But never in history, particularly with the young people with only an emergency use authorization by the FDA, have we mandated that vaccine at this early stage. It's right, we need that, but we know the solution to this, which is the vaccination. If you're not vaccinated, you can socially distance, you can take the steps, and private businesses should be able to make the decision themselves. Many might require of their employees to be vaccinated, but let's let them make that decision. And of course, people can make decisions as to where they want to go. But to put the mandate in is unprecedented. It's going to cause hardship, and it's going to cause division in our country, as you can already see. And so that's the reason I think the mandates take us the wrong direction.
Governor, look, I respect the point about division in the country. It's something we're all grappling with. And I want to thank you. I know you showed courage in saying that private sector employers in Arkansas should have the right, if they choose, to put a mandate in place. I appreciate you took that stand. But I'll tell you something. You have several times said, understandably, we don't have a precedent here. Yeah, I agree we don't have a precedent because this is absolutely an unprecedented crisis. And we're about to go into year 3 of it. And, Governor, this is my fear. You know, we thought several times we were going to leave the COVID era behind. We could leave it behind in 2022 if we truly focus on vaccination and put the tough mandates in place to make sure we turn the corner. If we don't, here's what I fear. We go back to lockdowns, restrictions, we lose another year. And I can tell you for a lot of businesses, small business owners I've talked to, mom and pop stores, they can't afford to lose another year. So that's the economic side. On the human side, and I'm representing a city that's lost tens of thousands of our fellow residents, people, you talk to someone who lost a grandparent, a father, a mother, it brings home, we've got to stop this thing now. And I'll tell you, and I'll challenge you respectfully on this point, look at what mandates have allowed us to achieve. Our schools are safe, our restaurants are thriving, Broadway is back because people go in there and they know they're safe, everyone's vaccinated, and it's actually kept them thriving while keeping the COVID levels low here. Why wouldn't we want that for everyone?
Governor?
Mayor, what is your vaccination rate in New York City before the mandates went into place?
It was about
57%.
About 57% before the mandate started in August. It's about 71% now, fully vaccinated, all residents. And that means about 1 million more doses since we put the mandates in place. And we know, we saw it with our own workforce, our public workforce. A lot of them were hesitant, truthfully. A lot of them needed some extra incentive and reason. Now it's 94% of our public employees are vaccinated because of those mandates.
Okay, that's public employees. I'm talking about the private sector, though, which is a totally different issue, although I don't believe we ought to have the mandates in place. But you're able to get to a fairly high vaccination rate through education, and also because the people of New York understood the risk. And they've lived through it, they understand that, and people in Arkansas, as the risk increase, the vaccination rates increase as well. And so through education, you have had a great deal of success. The mandates, though, are going to cause adverse hardship. People know what they need to do, but the mandates are going to cause consistent